We are a quarter of the way through the 2025 NFL season and going up against the Cleveland Browns week 5, heading into the bye week after that. Is this a must-win game for your Minnesota Vikings? I would say yes, for the purposes of trying to stay in the hunt. Now, there's a lot of season left, but the way it's looking right now, you're going to have 3 teams from the NFC West in the playoffs. So that's one division winner and then 2 wild cards. And then there's going to be 1 wild card remaining for whoever to battle it out, whether that's the Vikings, the Packers, the Washington Commanders. I was about to say the Dallas Cowboys, but they 1, 2, and 1. That's a little bit tough to climb. There's a lot of season left, but there's not much wiggle room right now. But to be honest, even if the Vikings were to get to the playoffs, they're not ready for the big dogs yet. They're not ready for that competition, that playoff competition that I thought that they will be ready for this year. For me, I'm going to dial it back to the point of, or the goal of, I just want to see some player development to head into 2026. We'll talk about JJ McCarthy, but so far, as far as the players that I'm interested in seeing, now if anyone else decides to pop up and make some plays, that would be great. But based off of what I've seen so far this season, the players that I'm interested in to see just how good they get with this team: Jordan Mason as a full-time starter, Miles Price as a return man, Donovan Jackson when he gets healthy, Jalen Redmond as a true nose tackle. He's been great this year. Eric Wilson with Blake Cashman. I want to see those 2 linebackers play together once Cashman gets healthy, of course. Ivan Pace Jr., I just can't, man. Too many missed tackles, and you're a linebacker. That's your main job. So Eric Wilson playing alongside of Blake Cashman. Isaiah Rodgers, he has been incredible. He might have the opportunity to be Defensive Player of the Year when it's all said and done this season. Dallas Turner, I think he's been pretty good. I want to see more of him. Terrion Ingram-Dawkins, the rookie, and LDR. Now, if they make it to the playoffs, great. But alongside with the fact that clearly they're not ready for that level of competition just yet, they're also dealing with a plethora of injuries, obviously. In a weird way, this season reminds me of 2016, where the year before 2015, you made it to the playoffs, a home playoff game in the wild card round at what was then known as TCF Bank Stadium. Could have won the game and advanced past the Seattle Seahawks, and I'm pretty sure they would have faced off against the Carolina Panthers in the divisional round, but it just didn't work out. Why? Because Blair Walsh effed it all up, going wide left. Going into the following year, 2016, it's, okay, we can build off of last year's result. We couldn't draw any offense. It was cold as hell, sure, but we can get better in that department. We're not going to let a kick determine our season or end our season again. You got Adrian Peterson, Teddy Bridgewater. This can be a really good team, but we didn't even get to find out how far they could have gone because before the season started, training camp, Teddy Bridgewater snapped his leg, and you had to make an emergency trade at quarterback for Sam Bradford, which I said at the time, I still say to this day, and will say forever until the end of time, that was the right move, that Sam Bradford was the best option for this team at that time. There was no way in hell, after making it to the playoffs the year before and trying to take that next step in 2016, there was no way in hell that you could roll with Sean Hill as your starting quarterback for that year. The problem is, even though Sam Bradford surprisingly stayed healthy that year, the offensive line wasn't any good, and I believe Norv Turner was the offensive coordinator, and it just didn't mesh well, and you ended up finishing 8-8 that year. Well, you compare that to now, where the year before, in 2024, you made it to the playoffs, you went 14-3. Now, obviously, nobody was expecting the Vikings to replicate that sort of that sort of success in terms of regular season wins. I did think they would go to the playoffs and make a nice little run, but obviously we're way behind that point right now. But you made it to the playoffs last year, 14-3 record. You have your first year starting quarterback in JJ McCarthy. We know that Kevin O'Connell is a quarterback guru, if nothing else, and that we at least expect JJ McCarthy to come into this season. And I predicted an 11-6 record. But clearly, those high expectations or lofty expectations and dreams going into this season based off of what we've seen so far through the first 4 games, albeit it's still early, quarter of the way through the 2025 season. It's still early, but clearly with the injuries and some performance issues, they're just not going to get anywhere close to that as far as what I predicted anyway. Now, some of you may have said, hey, you know, you got a first year starter and it's going to go bad. It's maybe 9-8 at best. And maybe that is what's going to be the case at best this year. We'll see. But for JJ McCarthy, and actually before we get to JJ McCarthy, if you're a daily fantasy player, Sleeper is the spot for you. Get a 100% match for new customers. Get a 100% match up to $100 using the promo code Randy. Terms and conditions do apply. Check out Sleeper today. But for JJ McCarthy, I think it's more than critical that we see some elevated level of foundation in his play before season's end, preferably for at least 4 or 5 games before season's end. If longer than that, that would be fantastic. But the guy that we saw through the first 2 games outside of one quarter, the guy that we saw looked like a guy that just learned about the sport of football yesterday. And I'm not asking a lot. I'm just saying, when you have wide open receivers, can you hit them on target right in the chest to where they can catch the ball and take off running to get yards after the catch instead of off target throws? Like, as far as that was really all he did was off target throws. Even if technically the passes were on target, it was low or too high. Just hit the layup plays, the plays that you should make. Don't make this too difficult on yourself. And if you can elevate your foundational level of play, then it's like, all right, we can take that next step moving forward. How do you get even better than that? And that's going to be in 2026 as far as getting even better than how much better he got from the start of the 25 season to the end of the 25 season. Get better in 2026, and then it's off to the races. And if we see the same guy when he comes back, give him a couple of games, sure. But if we see that same guy when he returns that we saw to start this year and goes into 2026 with no sort of improvement whatsoever, then in 2027, we got to be real, folks. Everybody's going to get fired. Every single body. Because you can't miss out on this prospect. You can't have this guy, a former 10th overall pick, who's supposed to be your new franchise quarterback, ultimately end up being, in a world of electric vehicles and power vehicles and all the advancements in automobiles, you can't just have this guy end up being a geoprism in the year of 2026. So when he comes back, we got to see something. But in the meantime, until we see JJ McCarthy for this season, I'm just interested in seeing how much better the players that have already shown something this year, the limited players that have shown something this year, how much better they can be. We'll see you next time.